Hey everyone, ready to unlock the secrets to sounding like a native English speaker on the IELTS?
I think we can help with that.
Awesome. Today we're diving into a podcast episode that's packed with mindset hacks, specifically for the IELTS speaking exam.
Oh yeah, this one's called Think Like a Native Speaker in 2025 IELTS Speaking Mindset Hacks.
Catchy. Right.
It is. And what's really cool is that the host is someone who really knows the ins and outs of the exam. They get what examiners are looking for.
Totally. They even share a story about a student who aced the exam by, get this, describing how they accidentally dyed their hair green.
Wow, that's a story.
Talk about memorable.
Yeah.
But let's not get sidetracked. The first hack they talk about is stop translating, start thinking in English.
Right. So many language learners get stuck in that word-for-word translation mode.
Yeah, it feels safe, but
It ends up sounding kind of robotic, you know?
not very natural.
Exactly. The podcast gives the example of buying mangoes. Instead of just saying, this mango is good, a native speaker might say something like, this mango is amazing, so juicy and sweet.
Way better than the ones I got last week.
Uh-huh. Exactly. It's about painting a picture with your words, even for everyday things.
I get it. It's like adding personality, even to simple sentences.
Exactly. And it makes you sound more engaged, which is what you want in the speaking exam.
For sure. The podcast also talks about missing the bus.
Oh, yeah. Instead of a direct translation, think about how you'd actually express that frustration.
Like, ugh, I missed the bus again.
No, I'm definitely going to be late. Typical Monday.
So true. I can definitely relate to that. But thinking directly in English, that feels like a big shift.
It is, but the podcast suggests starting small. Like, just narrate your day in English.
Walk around your house and describe what you're doing.
Yep. Like, okay, coffee's ready. Time to feed the cat. You know, simple things like that.
I like that. It's like practice, but without the pressure.
Exactly. And it gets your brain used to forming thoughts in English naturally.
Makes sense. Speaking of natural, the second hack is about embracing imperfect fluency. Isn't that a bit counterintuitive for an exam?
Well, yeah. You'd think you'd want to be perfect, right?
Especially for the IELTS.
But the thing is, even native speakers make mistakes, you know?
Like, and all that.
Exactly. Trying to be perfectly grammatically correct all the time can actually make you sound less fluent.
I never thought about it that way.
They actually share a story about a student who described a dish as making their taste buds throw a party.
Wow.
It wasn't perfect grammar, but it was definitely memorable.
I guess it's finding that balance, right? Accuracy, but also natural flow.
Yeah, and the podcast talks about using filler phrases strategically, like, or how do I put this?
Right, they can buy you some time to think.
And make you sound more like a real person having conversation.
Okay, so it's not about avoiding them completely, but using them in a way that helps your fluency.
Exactly. It's all about those nuances. And that brings us to hack number 3. Steal the native speaker's rhythm.
Rhythm. I'm intrigued.
Think of English like music. Native speakers emphasize certain words and phrases, and it creates this rhythm that makes their speech more engaging.
Okay, like intonation and stress.
Yeah. The podcast gives the example of, I love this song. Imagine someone saying it in a flat monotone versus someone who's like, I love this song.
Totally different vibe.
Right. It changes the impact completely.
Okay, but how do we actually steal this rhythm?
One way is to pay attention to how native speakers talk. The podcast recommends watching movies or TV shows and, mimicking the actors.
Oh, they actually mentioned Tom Holland in Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Yep. His delivery is super dynamic.
I can see that.
So pay attention to those cues. Try incorporating them into your own speech.
Got it. Pick up on the subtleties.
Exactly. You can even record yourself saying something simple and then listen back and see where you naturally stress certain words.
And then try exaggerating it a little.
Yep. It might feel weird at first, but it helps.
It'll help build that rhythm. Okay, I'm seeing how these first 3 hacks connect now. Thinking in English.
Yeah.
Embracing imperfection. Then adding that rhythm.
It all builds on each other.
But there's more, right? What's the 4th hack all about?
This one's about cracking the cultural code. It's about sounding truly native.
Cultural code. Sounds mysterious.
It's basically understanding those cultural references and humor that native speakers use naturally.
Like showing the examiner that you're not just fluent in the language, but you also get the culture.
Exactly.
Okay, I see the bigger picture here. But how do we show that understanding in the IELTS exam specifically?
Well, the podcast gives a few examples. Like, instead of saying, I like movies, you could say, I'm obsessed with Stranger Things. You know that scene with Eleven in the van?
Iconic.
Aha, exactly. Or instead of just saying social media is popular, you could talk about crazy TikTok trends.
One day everyone's dancing, the next they're crying over those Oh No remixes. It's wild.
Yeah, it's about going beyond generic statements, showing you're actually engaged with the culture.
I see. And I bet using those common English idioms would help too.
For sure, like piece of cake or break a leg.
They add a touch of authenticity.
Exactly. It's not just speaking the language, it's living it.
Okay, so we're not just robots spitting out perfect grammar.
Nope.
We're bringing personality, rhythm, cultural understanding. This is making so much sense.
I'm glad.
This is brilliant. I'm already feeling more confident about tackling the IELTS speaking exam. These first 4 hacks have been eye-opening.
I know, right?
But wait, there's more to come, right?
Absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface. There are more strategies and insights waiting to be uncovered.
Ooh, can't wait.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of native-like English speaking.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We're uncovering all those mindset hacks for sounding like a native English speaker on the IELTS.
Yeah, we've covered a lot already.
Thinking in English, those imperfect moments, rhythm, even cultural references.
It's all connected.
What else does this podcast have in store for us?
Well, this next hack might be a bit of a relief for some listeners. It's about letting go of that idea that you need a specific accent to sound native.
Wait, seriously? So I don't need to suddenly start speaking like I'm from London or New York?
No, not at all.
That takes a lot of pressure off. But doesn't the IELTS require a certain accent?
Not at all. The podcast makes it clear that examiners care about clarity and effective communication above all else.
Okay, so they're listening to how well you convey your ideas, not your accent.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's a relief. I was starting to worry about having to fake an accent and sounding totally unnatural.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
So should we aim for a neutral accent then?
Pretty much. The podcast points out that people take the IELTS all over the world, so examiners are used to hearing a wide range of accents.
Right, that makes sense.
What really matters is that your pronunciation is clear, and you enunciate your words well.
Got it. It's about being understandable, not trying to sound like someone I'm not. So if we're not focusing on a specific accent, what should we be focusing on?
Well, the podcast highlights the importance of using a wide range of vocabulary.
Okay, so pushing yourself beyond those basic words and using more sophisticated language.
Yeah. It shows you have a deeper understanding of the nuances of English.
Like instead of just saying happy, I could say delighted or overjoyed.
Exactly. The podcast actually recommends reading as much as you can in English.
Oh yeah, to see how those words are used in different contexts.
Right, and keeping a vocabulary journal.
Ooh, I love that idea. It's like collecting treasures and then figuring out how to use them.
Exactly. But even with a good vocabulary, those tricky English idioms can be a challenge.
Ugh, tell me about it. They trip me up all the time. Any tips for mastering those?
Well, the podcast makes a good point. Using idioms correctly can boost your fluency.
Right, they add that native touch.
But forcing them into your speech awkwardly can have the opposite effect.
Oh yeah, it can sound really unnatural.
So it's all about finding that balance.
Not overdoing it.
Exactly. Start with a few simple idioms that you're comfortable with.
Like piece of cake or break a leg.
Yep. And as you gain confidence, you can gradually incorporate more complex ones.
Okay, so start small and build up.
The key is to really understand their meaning and use them appropriately.
Makes sense. You know, something I've always struggled with is actually paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
How do you mean?
Like, I get so focused on trying to formulate my own thoughts that I miss those subtle cues in their speech.
Oh, I see.
You know, those little things that make them sound so natural.
Well, that actually leads perfectly into the next hack they talk about, active listening.
Active listening.
Yep. It might sound a little counterintuitive, but being a good listener is just as important as being a good speaker.
I never thought about it that way. How does listening help with speaking?
Well, when you actively listen to native speakers, you start to internalize all those subtle rhythms, the intonations, the pauses.
Oh, okay, so it's like absorbing the music of the language without even realizing it.
Exactly.
And the best way to do that is through immersion, right?
Absolutely. Surround yourself with as much English language media as you can.
Movies, TV shows, podcasts, audiobooks, you name it.
Exactly, but don't just passively listen. Engage with the material.
Okay, so ask yourself questions about what the speaker is trying to convey.
Yep, and try to anticipate what they might say next.
I like that. It's like turning listening into a mental workout.
Exactly.
It's not just about absorbing information, it's about analyzing it, making it your own.
Right.
But let's be real. No matter how much we prepare, there's always those nerves that creep in during an exam.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Any advice on handling those pre-exam jitters?
Well, the podcast offers some practical tips for managing those nerves and staying focused.
Okay, tell me everything.
They stress the importance of practice, practice, practice.
So the more comfortable you are with using English in real-life situations.
The less intimidating the exam will feel.
Right, so it's about getting out of my comfort zone and using English as much as possible.
Exactly. Ordering coffee in English, chatting with English-speaking friends, things like that.
Got it. Practice makes perfect, or at least less scary.
Exactly. And they also emphasize the importance of being prepared.
Okay, so familiarize myself with the format of the speaking exam.
Yep. Practice answering sample questions.
Right. Knowing what to expect can definitely help reduce anxiety.
For sure. It's like having a roadmap before you set off on a journey.
That's a great analogy.
Mm.
But even with preparation, those nerves can still sneak up on you. Any last-minute tips for the day of the exam?
Well, the key is to focus on the things you can control. Get a good night's sleep, stay hydrated, and remember to breathe.
Deep breaths? Check.
Oh.
Anything else?
Don't get caught up comparing yourself to other candidates.
Oh, that's easy to do.
Everyone's on their own journey. Just focus on doing your best and let your skills shine through.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to get distracted by what everyone else is doing.
Right. But it's about focusing on your own performance. Speaking of performance, the podcast mentions one final hack I'm really excited to explore. The power of storytelling.
Oh yeah, storytelling. I've always loved a good story.
It's an incredibly powerful tool for connecting with your audience, and that includes the IELTS examiner.
I never thought about using storytelling in an exam setting. How would we even do that?
Well, they suggest thinking of personal anecdotes or experiences that relate to the topic.
Okay, so if I'm asked about a time I faced a challenge, I could share a story about overcoming an obstacle or learning from a mistake.
Exactly. It makes your answers more engaging and relatable.
I love that. It's about bringing our personalities and experiences into the exam.
And making our answers stand out. But what if you're not a natural storyteller?
Yeah, that's me. I'm not sure where to even begin.
Well, the good news is storytelling is a skill that can be developed.
Really?
Start by thinking about some key events in your life
Okay.
and practice narrating them in English.
Out loud.
Yeah, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Start small, build up that confidence.
Exactly.
This is all fantastic advice. I'm already feeling more confident about tackling the IELTS speaking exam. But wait, there's still more to come, right?
We have one final part of our deep dive to go.
Oh, exciting.
We'll wrap up these game-changing mindset hacks and leave you feeling ready to conquer the IELTS.
Awesome. Can't wait. We're back for the final part of our IELTS speaking mindset hacks deep dive. We've uncovered some seriously valuable strategies.
We have.
But there's one key ingredient missing.
Oh, you mean confidence.
Exactly. It's that secret sauce that can make or break your performance.
It really ties everything together.
But confidence can be tough to find, especially in a high-pressure situation like the IELTS. So how do we boost that self-assurance when we need it most?
Well, the podcast reminds us that true confidence starts with a strong foundation, preparation, and practice.
Okay, so building that fluency through consistent effort.
Right. The more you immerse yourself in English, the more comfortable you'll become.
But it's not just about speaking perfectly, right?
Not at all. Confidence isn't about being flawless. It's about believing you can communicate effectively.
Even if you make a few mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
The podcast uses this great analogy. They compare speaking English to learning to ride a bike.
Okay.
At first, you're going to wobble and fall, but eventually, you find your balance.
You start gliding effortlessly.
Exactly. And as you get more experience, those wobbly moments happen less.
You develop a natural flow.
And your confidence grows.
So trust the process, believe in your ability to improve.
Yep.
But what about confidence during the exam itself? How does that play out?
Well, think about it. When you project confidence, it puts the examiner at ease.
Oh, so it creates a more positive vibe.
Exactly. It's like sending a signal that you're prepared, ready to communicate.
Okay, so confidence sets the tone.
The podcast also emphasizes that confidence isn't just how you speak, it's what you say, too.
Oh, so having interesting things to share.
Exactly.
How can we make sure our content is engaging for the examiner?
They recommend drawing from your personal experiences, your hobbies, your interests.
Share stories, anecdotes.
Right. Things that showcase your personality.
So it's okay to bring our authentic selves to the exam.
More than okay. Remember, examiners are human too. They
Yeah.
like genuine enthusiasm.
They want to connect.
Exactly.
So let our passion shine through, both in how we speak and what we say.
Absolutely. There's something really captivating about listening to someone who's passionate. It creates a connection.
It goes beyond just language.
It does.
And when we're genuinely engaged, it shows. Our voice, our body language, our energy.
For sure.
The IELTS speaking exam, it's a chance to showcase your skills.
It is.
To share your story, connect with the examiner.
Exactly.
Embrace the challenge, have fun, and let your confidence shine through.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive into IELTS speaking mindset hacks has been incredible.
I know, right?
We've explored so many strategies.
Thinking in English, embracing imperfect fluency, all of it.
It's clear that getting a high score isn't just about memorizing grammar rules. It's about adopting the right mindset, one that empowers you to communicate effectively.
And confidently. And what's really amazing is that these mindset hacks, they go way beyond just the IELTS exam.
Oh yeah, they can really transform how we approach learning any language.
Exactly.
It's about embracing the journey, using language to connect with the world, finding our voice and sharing it with confidence.
Well said. As you continue practicing and using these strategies, you'll discover the joy of expressing yourself in English. You might even inspire others along the way.
What an inspiring conversation about the power of mindset.
It really is.
We hope these hacks have given you the tools to approach the IELTS speaking exam and all your English speaking goals with a renewed sense of confidence and excitement.
Yeah.
Keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep sharing your unique voice with the world.